So hi everyone and welcome to the Rags to Riches show with myself, Terry Blackburn. Today I have someone who I actually quite look up to, although I don't like to tell him that. A guy called Danny Inman, someone who is very, very active in the property market, the property investment and development space. Guaranteed there'll be quite a few gems you can pull from this session. Really knowledgeable, straight talking guy. He's the leader of the Prosperity Network, a network that I'm part of, which for me, got to be the best out there. I have looked at other people's content. Yeah, for me, it's top draw. At one point, I think he has sold some, but at one point he had about 400 HMO rooms, is my understanding. Around about 25 million in development, either being developed or due to be developed, going through planning. So I think he talks the talk, but he also walks the walk, I think is fair to say. So welcome, Danny Inman.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. 350 rooms we got to at our peak.
350. Yeah. Potato, same thing. So thanks to you for coming on, Danny. I know you're a very, very busy man. Spinning lots of plates, so I appreciate your time today. Like I mentioned, I think there'll be a lot that people can take from this session. I'm sure he'll drop some bombs and some gems throughout. So what we like to do, Danny, is we like to talk about people's lives and the experiences that they've had throughout that and the lessons that they've learned to hopefully inspire and motivate other people. Maybe he's going on your favorite word on their journey. So if you broke your life up into three different parts, Danny, so the start, the middle and the current. The start would typically be your upbringing and how you got into property and the field that you're in. The middle part will be the exciting part, the growth and all the big things that you've achieved. And the current is obviously where you are now. So could you give us like a brief sort of overview of each of those parts, Danny, and sort of your lessons learned throughout?
Yeah, on my journey. Yeah, it's a pre-property. Nothing really exciting, to be honest. I kind of fell into property a little bit, but very working class background. Mum was a secretary, dad worked in a warehouse. No real business experience in the family, no entrepreneurialism. The history of doing very simple working class, honest jobs in our family. So I've kind of broke the mold a little bit on an entrepreneurial level. Completely accidentally, although I think there were signs as a kid of me doing dodgy deals, selling, like anyone, selling sweets in school and cigarettes in school, and then moving on to Von Dutch hats and Burberry bikinis at college, and just various things like that I always liked to make a little bit of money growing up as a kid, but didn't really realize it was going to end up as a business. My original background is rugby league. I signed professionally as a rugby league player at 15 on very good terms for a 15-year-old. I always called it God's curse, made me very good at something I didn't particularly enjoy that much. And I could see a lot of the guys retiring at 35, which is my age now, funnily enough. And they were going on then to train to be plumbers, or they were going back into normal careers. I'm really struggling, having spent 10, 15 years getting their bodies battered and then heading back into jobs, and they've not really set themselves up for the rest of their lives. And I just thought I didn't want to get my body battered in something I don't really enjoy that much to then have to start a new career at the age I am now. So went into the formal education route, did pretty well at school, quite academic, quite fortunate that I didn't really have to work that hard at school to do okay academically. So I ended up going to the University of Manchester. Mum was very proud of me. First one of us really to go through university and get through university. And I had a graduate scholarship with Lang O'Rourke, a big engineering company, and then realized I didn't want to do engineering either. So I realized that very, very quickly, post-graduating. Didn't finish my master's as a result, because I realized that I didn't want to do that either. So I'd started two things on a career level that I'd exceeded expectations at and done very well, but hated both. So kind of at that point in time, kind of fell into a bit of a sticky situation mentally, that I just thought, God, I've found two things I'm great at, but I've not done very well. I've done very well, but I've decided I don't like either. Am I ever going to find anything that I enjoy? Which, in hindsight, looking back at 21, 22-year-old me worrying about if I'm ever going to find anything I enjoy was probably a bit ridiculous, but you don't think that at the time. So yeah, that was pre-property. Simple upbringing, into rugby, which is a very northern thing to do. Did well at rugby, decided I didn't want to do that. Then into education. So I disappointed my dad by walking away from rugby. Then I disappointed my mum by not using my degree to its full potential. So 22 years old, I disappointed everyone.
On that, Danny, do you think anything that you learned from rugby, maybe it's a discipline or anything like that, or the graduate position, do you think you've carried anything from that into the businesses that you're involved in now, or do you think any of those sort of benefited you in any way?
Yeah, I think some of it benefited me and some of it worked against me. I think the one big thing that worked against me was I breezed through life as a young person. I was very, very capable, very fortunate in some respects to be so capable. And when I hit a challenge, i.e. something I didn't really like, I wasn't used to not both being great at it, enjoying it, and getting a load of recognition. So it probably caused me a bit of trouble having things coming that easy as a young person, just purely on an ability level. But it worked for me, and it's certainly in the degree area, and to a degree in property, because in rugby, because I managed to work hard at something I didn't particularly like. So then once I went into an area that I did like, it was much easier. Yeah, much easier to work hard effectively. And it no longer felt like hard work because it was something I enjoyed. So I think working hard in an area you don't necessarily love makes it easier when you find that thing that you particularly enjoy or particularly strikes with you to work hard or put the extra effort in. Like, everyone always comments on how busy we are, how hard I'm working, but it don't really feel that way. I know I'm busy, but I enjoy it. So there's a different kind of feeling to it, I think. I say this to a lot about education, formal education. I think formal education is very broken because it teaches people how to pass tests. It doesn't really prepare them for life. But I would never say that I wouldn't go to university. I would do the same thing again because socially was fantastic. Obviously, got to see a lot of different things at university you wouldn't see otherwise.
Did they come back a bit? Did they?
Yeah. And then secondly, just because it did teach you to have some self-discipline, that, applying yourself in an area, it always pays off ultimately in some way. So yeah, I think that was the one big learning there. So that was pre-property, basically. That's largely my journey pre-property.
Great, class. And then how did you? I've heard this story, but I think some people might not. So how did you then get started into property? Did you stumble into it? Courses? How did you get into it?
No, complete accident. So 2009, November 2009, I'll never forget. I'd kind of hit that weird crossroads in life where I'd done two things, given them both up, and I was delivering Chinese takeaways, to be honest. And my amateur rugby chairman sent me along with his son to just a property training. I think it was effectively a +1. I was the +1 ticket to a 2-person property training that his son was already going to, and he had done a couple of years previously. So yeah, that was it. I basically got an introduction. Do you want to go to this? They could probably see I was at a loose end and kind of looking for something. It just struck with me very simply that I'll never forget that weekend, because I like numbers and I like people, and that's a good 90% of property is numbers and people. So I could see logic. I could see the way the market worked. Everything that they were saying kind of resonated with me at that point in time. And I knew nothing. Honestly, my property knowledge was, Mum had a mortgage, she paid it. Like, that was the extent of my knowledge in property. Knew nothing.
Never read any books. It was just literally, that was the catalyst that, and would you say you were hooked from that point? That was you?
Yeah, I think mentally at that point in my life, I needed something to hook onto, and I was fortunate that it was that I hooked onto. I became very addicted in a positive way to property and the market. And, again, another fortunate was timing. It was 2009. We'd just come out of the crash, the readily available stock, and it was just a good timing. It just felt like stars aligned effectively. I'm not a massively spiritual person in any way, but if you could have picked a time when I needed something like property, it was definitely at that point in my life. So it was just great on that perspective. And haven't looked back since. I've not, I've been pretty consistently in property since, and kind of had full faith and convinced myself I was going to make it happen, which a lot of people would have thought was ridiculous. And to be fair, a lot of my friends voiced how ridiculous I was being, delivering Chinese takeaways 6 nights a week and telling everyone I was a property investor for the 7 days a week. So yeah, in hindsight, it's worked out all right.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It's definitely worked out all right. So were you, just to clarify, so you were, apart from doing the takeaways, have you been full-time now since 2009?
Yeah, the only other job I've had is takeaway delivery service. Yeah, or I'm sure there's a posher name you can come up for takeaways. Hot food distribution operator or something like that. But yeah, that was
CEO as well. Normally, everyone's a CEO on LinkedIn, aren't they?
CEO of takeaway delivery. Yeah, that was my.
That's fair. And I think you've said on a few of your posts, like, everyone sees the success now, but they probably don't know, or they certainly don't think about where, that it was sourcing it by itself, wasn't it? At the start, you didn't buy for 18 months is when I did my digging, doing takeaways on the side. But now they see these huge multi-million-pound developments. It didn't go from the course to that, did it? You didn't get your financial freedom in 7 days. I don't think that's.
Oh God. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everyone that follows me on any social media will know I take great enjoyment in poking that part of our industry, the get rich quick mentality. I think the big thing for me is I delivered takeaways for 18 months and I sourced for 18 months. I didn't buy a property, as you've mentioned, for 18 months, and it would have been very easy for me to go and get a job at that point in time that didn't allow me the time of day to go and do property in the day, but paid me more money, had a better view from other people on the job that I was doing, or wouldn't have got me laughed at as much as it did then. I can vividly remember, I'm a rugby league playing guy from Warrington, and here, it's eat or be eaten. You get a load of shit for everything. So as somebody who's delivering Chinese takeaways, as someone who was a good rugby player, did well in his degree, and then ends up delivering Chinese takeaways, my rugby playing mates took great joy in absolutely ripping the urine out of me. So yeah, brutal, absolutely brutal. But it's I look back on that time and I did what I needed to do in that point of time, and a lot of people just aren't willing to make what is a relatively short-term sacrifice for the benefit of the long term, because they want or feel like they need it to be so quick. And it's not quick. Property, we say it all the time, 3 to 5 years minimum, you're going to have to put in some work to get in a reasonable position where for most people it could replace their job. I was very fortunate. I had no expenses at the start, and the job I was replacing was a Chinese takeaway delivery service that wasn't incredibly well paid, and even then, after that transition, I lived in a 2-bed house. I had my office in the front living room, and I rented out the second bedroom, and that covered costs, and then it's so progressive. But you don't go from a 21-year-old delivering Chinese takeaways to I'm 35 years old now, and everyone now looks at the nice cars, nice house, holiday homes, all of that. But anyone can have it. Just do what I've done. I say this to everybody: do what I've done, you can have what I have. It's as simple as that. But for most, it's not as simple as that. So it's
or they're not prepared to make the sacrifices that I think in this country now, unfortunately, and elsewhere. I don't know if you shared this. Someone shared this about people have a sense of entitlement now, don't they? Massively, but we could do a whole podcast on that. So let's pull it back a little bit. I think people want to know more about your journey. So that was this start. So humble beginnings, pro sports, doing things that you didn't enjoy, and then you found your hook, you found your passion, you found the thing that you loved doing and to do. So that middle section. So you've went from that to where you are now, which is quite far apart, I would say. So tell us some of the highlights of that middle part, and if there's any real sort of catalysts that boosted your career and your portfolio and things.
Yeah, I think there's a few key points when I look back. It's hard to have regrets, but one thing I think I did was I sourced for a little bit too long. I was very comfortable in other people taking the risks. I get a little fee, you buy the property, it's the risk you buy a property. And now I look back at some of the properties in Warrington that I sourced for 50 grand, 55 grand. And it's easier to do in this market, obviously, when it's red hot. And there's one I put up the other day, and it's like, I think I sourced it for 52 grand. It's on the market for 125 grand now, 10 years down the line. And that's what property is. You spend enough time in the market, you feel the benefits. And so if anything, from a regret level, I sourced a bit too long. And obviously, in our position, you shouldn't overly have regrets. But if I look back at it, I'd say I sourced it too long. I could have raised private money. I could have done more deals earlier when the market was very, very favourable. And that was probably a tipping point for me, confidence in using other people's money. And I know it gets thrown around, other people's money, and how people will have a go at you using other people's money. You have no experience, blah, blah, blah. So maybe the time benefited me because I'd proven myself in the market. I proved that I was doing good deals. That probably worked for me a little bit. But yeah, that was a key point for me. Confidence in using other people's money and confidence in taking the risk of buying myself. So I think one of my biggest fears is comfort. And I feel it often. There's some mornings, I think there's a few famous boxers that say it's very difficult to get up and train when you're sleeping in silk covers. And
is this an exclusive? Danny Inman has silk covers. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I don't on purpose to try to keep myself uncomfortable. Sleep on a bed of nails. Right, okay. But no, it's true. As you get a better life and a better passive income, for want of a better term, and as you start to tick off things on your goal board and your dream board, your motivation starts to waver a little bit. So comfort has always been something that I'm very acutely aware of, and I look out for a feeling of that in myself. If I start to feel motivation dropping in me, it's usually because I'm comfortable, and I have a conscious switch in me that I need to be aware of that, and I need to look into whether I need to change that in any way. And being aware of that quite early was with regards to sourcing. When I sourced so many deals, I was comfortable taking 2 or 3 grand worth of fee, but not stepping up in risk profile to take the risk to be the one buying it, to be the one having to manage the refurb, to take that additional responsibility that comes with success. If you want a lot of success, you've got to take on a shitload of responsibility, and you're going to take on a shitload of problems. And I think the avoidance of that is a big problem in success. So I think that very early, 18 months in, when I thought, bloody hell, I've made a killing here, sourcing 100 deals, 2 or 3 grand a pop, made a lot of money, but I've not really took any real risk. And to get to the bigger rewards, I think I need to take more risks. And that consciousness of comfort zone was probably, at that stage, was very good for me. And then it scales all the way up. You get very comfortable doing buy-to-lets. So are you going to step up to the next investment profile? Very fortunate as well, and probably another key point on my timeline is finding a business partner 6 or 7 years ago that's an absolute addict to the game and success, and you know, you could read every success book and it epitomizes his behavior. And you know, everyone thinks I'm an addict and he makes me look like a puppy, and that's been great to have somebody that's just got that in them to, you know, when you're having a bit of a shit day or you're having a bit of a challenge, or you know, you lean on somebody who has a different perspective and a different view, and you know, different risk profile, different experiences. So him, not just him, to be fair, a huge network, a big network that I've had and I've built over time, which has now led to the Prosperity Network. I've always felt that abundance comes from community. And that's always been massive for me. So yeah, I'd say those 3 points: awareness of comfort zone, importance of having either a business partner, mentor, coach, somebody who's there when you're having a shit time. Because honestly, I feel like giving up once a week. Once a week I have this conversation with myself that, what the fuck am I doing it for now? I've got enough money, I can retire, I'm 35, I can live a hell of a life. But then you realize that the rewards in overcoming those challenges are actually more gratifying than doing nothing. So that's a big one. And then network, strength of network, putting yourself around people who have a similar mindset, a different mindset, whatever it may be, but challenge you in some way to either perform or hold you accountable or whatever it may be. I think those 3 points have probably pushed me to the point where I am today, when it would have been quite easy to stop, I think.
Wow, some gems there. Just on those couple of points, just to explore them a bit further. So with the comfort zone thing, I think a lot of people will definitely be able to relate to that once they get to the first target in property. I'd say that replace their income or 10 properties, isn't it? Everyone I speak to, it seems to be that at the start, doesn't it? But once they get that, some people then do stop doing that, or they lose the mojo, they lose the motivation. So from someone who's went from level to level to level, or up these levels, what do you do? So you identify it, but then how do you personally say, you know, I am in the comfort zone? Is it stretch? Is it doing something that you've never done before? Is it a bigger project than you've ever done before? Is it speaking to Nathan? Is it, what is it that gets you out of the comfort zone, would you say?
Yeah, a number of different things. I'll probably comment in a couple of ways there, because the guy I did my training with stopped really early. He hit a certain level, 3.5, 4 grand a month in income, which is obviously a good level for a lot of people from property. And that was him. And I think the key with property is it's a vehicle that if you love it, carry on. If you don't love it, let it get you to the point where you can do something that you love. And that was the case with him. He
Good advice.
went and opened a restaurant, you know, lived the life that he wants on that particular side of things. And that, you know, I had a lot of respect for that, because it was kind of like he recognized, I don't really enjoy property. You know, I like what it's done for me. I like what it's given. I can leave my job and get away from that, but I don't love it. I love it. And I enjoy the process. I enjoy the challenges. So I think that's important. I think you're one of two people, you know. I think in our industry, there's a big problem with everybody having to pretend they love the hustle. If you don't love it, you don't love it. You know, no one can force you to love it. And you just need to do enough to get what you want. And that's fine. You know, I've coached a lot of people over the years that have got to 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 grand a month and stopped. And I have as much respect for them, recognizing that that's their limit, than the guys who want to carry on and take bigger risks. You know, you and I are probably different. We want to empire, take over the world. And it's not really about the thing. It's about the success in getting the thing. That's what I love. I like the development of me as a person in overcoming the challenges to get the thing. Like the things now are just a measure of how well you've done. And if I make 50 grand profit in a deal, then I've done 50 grand's worth of well, if that makes sense. It doesn't mean I'm going to go and spend 50 grand more, because I don't necessarily need 50 grand's worth more of things. So that's a weird transition. I think that's the comfort zone thing as well, that if you hit a point and you don't enjoy the process, it's fine that you don't carry on and you go and find something where you enjoy the process. If you do enjoy it, then the way that I keep myself challenged is by recognizing that I measure my success by how well the deal's gone, but I'm not defined by how well the deal's gone, because I've had shit deals as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's part of it. I don't know a good deal if I've never done a shit deal ultimately. So, you know, it's all relative. So that's a big thing. Yeah. I think stretching the comfort zone for me has been possible by enjoying the process more than anything.
Fair play. Fair play. Love that. Love that. Give us a couple of other highlights. I want the numbers. I'm a bit of a numbers person. I want the numbers. So I know you sent me a picture of a development which just blew my mind a little bit. I mean, are you happy sharing any of the numbers on the bigger stuff? There's a bit of motivation for some people.
Nathan's the bigger stuff. He's the driver behind all of the bigger stuff, and he will be a billionaire. I have no doubt in my mind. Really? He has, yeah, no doubt. And that's very important to him. That measure of hitting that target on a success level probably matters much more to him than it does to me. I get caught in between sometimes behind being this not middle class, working class guy that's transitioned and now earns a lot of money, and thinking, Christ, I can't spend a lot of the money that you're earning. You know, I look at things in life and go, if you spend more than 15, 20 grand a month, you're living a pretty grotesque life in some respects sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's where I've come from, I think. So I hit that level where it's like earning more is a measure, but I don't know if I need to get to that level of £1 billion. It just means everything to him. It's very, very important to him. But on some of the deals that, you know, there's just various stuff going on all of the time. I couldn't tell you how many units live we have on a day-by-day basis, because a sale will be agreed, a remortgage will happen, we'll buy something new. It's so transient. But my favorite deals are the ones where I have to do nothing. Because
about like the planning game, I've seen that.
Yeah. You can't measure. You know, you can have 100-unit build-out development and you can make X million pound, but the best return on time you're going to get is where you make the most profit for the least time invested. And they're my favorite. We've got a couple of planning gains where we bought it at 145 grand, exchanged, put planning on it, and then sold it for 350 grand. We barely owned it for 6 months. You know, I just love that kind of deal, because it's in, out, profits realized. You know, you work out your hourly wage on that kind of deal, and it will be a 40, 50, 60 flat development, hands down. You know, you're spending 20 hours to earn 200 grand. You're a 10 grand an hour employee. It's phenomenal. It's ridiculous when you break it down like that. So, you know, they're my favorite. They're my absolute favorite. And if I had a choice, I would genuinely never build out again.
Really?
Yeah, I think it looks wonderful, and you've seen some of the stuff and some of the developments we do, and we're doing a hotel now, and I'm really proud that that's going ahead. But most of the unknowns happen the longer a development takes, and the bigger developments take longer. You know, so you remove a lot.
What's your longest build time, Danny, on one project?
I'd say 18 months, 18 to 24 months. Like, planning is even longer. So, you know, that's just building. We've got two apps that are 2.5 to 3 years in already.
Just in planning?
In planning, yeah.
Wow.
Various stages. And, you know, I'm planning reform and all of that. I'm massively behind it for many different reasons. You know, we need planning reform. We need housing, so it needs to get easier to deliver housing, and that's why I don't know whether I've been battered into it, but in some respects, I just like the get in, make your money, get out, and you know, take the quick reward. And it might be less money. You know, you might make 500 grand if you develop it out, but to make 200 grand for 10 hours or 500 grand for 100 hours, your ROI is better on the smaller amount. So it's
True.
I return on time invested. My best deals have taken the least time to make the most money, and that's kind of my metric. But the bigger stuff obviously looks sensational, and the story of the development from a knackered grade 2 listed building to an incredible conversion, it looks great on Insta. But you earn a few more scars on that kind of stuff, because the timeline is the challenge, So yeah, that's a learned thing from me. I would have said 5 years ago that I love the big stuff and I love converting it and love putting out these beautiful buildings. Let someone else have.
You think you went sort of full circle on that? Because as you're starting off, you're chasing. Well, me personally, I'm chasing the bigger stuff. I'm always looking at that bigger stuff. But then when you got to the bigger stuff, did you find yourself almost coming back round to, I probably want less hassle? And have you found that you've sort of came back round?
Yeah, I think return on time. Everything I judge is return on time. Everything, and I would view a deal better if I made more money per hour, even if it was a less capital sum. That's my judgment on it. So yeah, it's probably an alien way to some people, because they would rather go through it and make 100 grand more, and that's fine. Just I don't need that 100 grand extra that much that I will go for, because I can do 3 of the deals not building it out in the same time of doing one where you are building it out. So yeah, we will continue to build out. I'm sure we will. But for most of our developments now, I'll have a little fish where I'll put my, when we get planning, I'll put the bait in the water and see if anyone bites. And if somebody bites at a good price, then we don't have to be the one that builds it. We'll have for them too.
Fair play. Love that. Thanks, Danny. So look, if we're looking at right now, then, so what's next for you then? What is your attention on right now?
Yeah, well, I mentioned the hotel. We're doing an apart hotel. Some model I'm pretty excited about. I think small boutique apart hotel blocks. You get the odd Airbnb individual apartment or 1 or 2 apartments in a block, and they probably do fine. But I don't know many full blocks that are going to be. We're going for high tech, experience based, high end, high specification. In very good areas, central areas. So this is a 21 unit apart hotel. And we're just trialing this one. We're potentially trialing another one in West Yorkshire, 16 units. And it's a model that I think if it goes well, we'll run in other major cities. We're quite keen to run with that. I think it's got massive legs. I think it's a bit untapped at the moment, but gathering a lot of pace. I know you're doing some serviced accommodation yourself, and in high tourist areas. We're going more central, mixture of work and tourism. But I think Airbnbs took off because people want a whole unit, and they want the flexibility to do what they want, maybe cook in their Airbnb, and that's gone incredibly well. I think there's a middle ground that we're trying to tackle, where professionals on a 3 to 5 day will get high-end, well looked after units, but we'll give them the flexibility to eat out, eat in, and do as they please. So yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you updated on that one. But we bought that. We bought it very well. We bought it for 550,000. I could sell that building today for £1 million.
Wow.
Comfortably. Yeah, and I was timing is everything in property. So timing and time in the market, and we timed that one very, very well. So it's ground floor restaurant, very nice restaurant, great occupants there. Ground floor bar, there's a lovely bar, and again great tenants there. And then we're going to have 21 serviced apartments on the upper floor. So I'm excited about that because it's new. That's the thing for me. the good thing about property is it can become a cookie cutter at every level. You know, rinse and repeat, buy to let, rinse and repeat, and then every buy to let starts to look the same. HMO, rinse and repeat, and then all of your HMOs start to look the same. So, you know, boredom can cross over with comfort zone a little bit, where I'm bored of, you know, imagine being bored of buying buy to let houses, but people do end up in that position. I'm pretty sure you're probably
yeah, that's exactly it, Danny. I've felt that. That's why I was asking about the comfort zone, because I sometimes do get there myself. For me, I normally I speak to someone I try to speak to someone who's doing more than me, because that normally ignites a bit of a fire in me to think, well, you know, look what he's doing. I'm not doing well anymore. But if I speak to 10 people and I'm doing the best out of all of them, you feel like you're the man. But if you go and speak to people who are doing a lot more, for me, that is a way that I've just got past that comfort zone thing. And I agree with the apart hotel thing. Yeah, we do nothing on your side, but it's a 9-bed one. I'm with you. I think Airbnbs, it ain't going anywhere, is it? Let's be honest. I don't think there's not gonna be lack of interest anytime soon, is there? If anything.
No. Yeah, post COVID and all of that, we'd expect a huge, and we are expecting. You're already seeing a huge bounce back on that front, and I'm expecting it on every level: economy, industry, providing people get comfortable working again. That will be a challenge, I think, post furlough scheme. But I think we back it in a big way. So for me, it's something new over something bigger, I would say. You know, once you start doing a lot of big stuff,
it's exciting again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just something new, unknown, more learning. I love to learn. I like to, you know, I learn from somebody every day, and I think that staying open to that is really, really important. A big part of why we have the network and why we do things like this is speaking to people like you. I learn as much as you do. I'm pretty sure. So, a thing that's new. I like new things. So that's a big one for us. Just same ongoing different stuff. We back the high street, so we're doing quite a bit on the high street, converting bigger retail units down to smaller retail, putting residential above. Even pre-COVID, you know, we predicted the high street was already changing, and COVID's just put a fast forward on that. So, you know, all of this that's happening now, where local councils and planning reform are pushing people towards living back in the town centre, and the high street's going to become more experience-based shopping, you know, bohemian with butcher, baker, candlestick maker, people you've got to go in and see, like artisan markets basically, but on the high street. That's where I think we've been going a while. Warrington Town Centre is a prime example of this. The town centre with the big retail was dead Monday to Friday. Then you opened an artisan market on Saturday, Sunday, and it's absolutely heaving. It's like, it seems obvious that you just need to move that full time, that experience-based shopping onto the high street. But to do that, it needed to be smaller units, which is what we're doing. We're chopping bigger retail down into smaller retail units, putting resi above, which will bring people back into the high street. My opinion now is that the high street is going to get a rebirth over the next 3 to 5 years, and then we'll be worried about outside retail so retail parks. I think they've got a big problem coming in the next 3 to 5 years, because they took off because everyone moved out of the town centre to go shopping convenience based. Now convenience based is Amazon, so everyone's going to come back into the town centre for experience based shopping and do all of their retail convenience shopping on Amazon. And I think retail parks are going to be the next big challenge. I can see home builders knocking them down and starting again with houses.
Well, that my next question was going to be, you know, I will have a laugh calling you Mystic Dan online and stuff, because you do kind of predict these things happening. You'd be right so far. My next question was going to be, what do you see next? But you've kind of answered that. So that's interesting. About the retail parks, for sure, and the apart hotel stuff. You know, I suppose you're putting your attention and your money into that. So that's just follow Dan. Just follow Danny. That's what some people should do.
If I was wondering what my next strategy would be earlier on, I would be looking in and around the high street and on the outskirts of town centres. That would be it is our model, but we're taking bigger retail, even smaller retail, shop with top. Even if it's just one top, I think that there's growing scope in that market. And obviously the commercial market on a rental level has been walloped in the last year because of COVID and non-paying tenants. We've had a couple of cases of tenants that weren't paying pre-COVID that have leveraged COVID a little bit, let's say. I think what COVID's done is the good tenants have survived, and it will be a natural clear out of the ones that weren't viable anyway, and the high street's changing. So yeah, that'd be where I'd be fishing, definitely.
Interesting. Thanks, Danny. Just a couple more questions. So the podcast video series is called The Rags to Riches Show. So what does being rich mean to you? Because you can be rich in loads of different parts. It's not just monetary, is it? You can be rich in friendships, relationships, time. There's loads of things. But what does it mean to you?
For me, wealth comes from my faith in myself. I think I have full belief that I could start from zero and still do better than most people. And that's without. It sounds horrifically arrogant. I don't mean to be arrogant. I just have faith in the fact that the way we've done a lot of things is the way that you're supposed to do things, and not that complicated. Work like a bastard, network like mad, be willing to take some risk, look to create win-wins. These are all the key things that I've always tried to do. Belief in abundance, and I think I can transition to almost any industries. Obviously, I can sell pretty well, I think, and that's a big part. But I always deliver a product that I believe in when I'm selling it. So I think that integrity and all of those various things. So I think that's. I probably class that as rich, going from having bugger all knowledge and experience to being reasonably knowledgeable, but having full faith in my own ability to give myself a life that I want and my family a life that I want, and all of that. I'd say that for me, that's wealth, I think.
Class, love that. We've had had huge differences in the answers to that question.
Really?
Yeah, massively different. So it's an interesting one. I agree. Rich is what it's individual to the person, isn't it? It means something different. Some people just can be rich in time. That's all they want. They want loads of time off. Like your friend who got what he wanted from property and then he's off doing his thing. Okay, cool. If anyone wants to find you, what's the best way to reach out, Danny? Is it socials? What's the best way?
Social, yeah. Danny Inman Property on pretty much any social. We believe in socials massively. We engage a lot on social. It's pretty much always me you'll speak to when you're sending messages. As much as it pisses my wife off that I'm texting and messaging at all hours. I always say somebody gave me time at the start, and as a result, I'm going to do the best I can to give people time. So, yeah, Danny Inman Property on any socials that you can think of.
Great. Just actually one other question. This just came to us about social media. I know you are active on it, quite active. 2-3 posts a day, which I love. There's loads of just funny ones and memes, and you're putting the world to rights and stuff about other financial education companies, which I quite enjoy those posts. Why are you so big on social media?
I just put a post up today, and it was 4 years since I came on Instagram today, and that's wow. Crazy, really. And at the time, I was a complete caveman. When my missus used to always be on Instagram, and I used to say, "Oh, you're scrolling again. What are the Kardashians up to now?" And that's what I used to think was Kardashians, and there was nothing serious. And then just a couple of people were saying a couple of things, or I've met this person. We were messaging on Instagram, and I started to see like some value of connections. Really, it was about connections for me. This person had met this person. They'd never spoke to them before, but they commented on a post, and I thought, oh shit, there's some power behind this here that it's forming. And because I've always believed in network, but I was the old school way. I'd go to a networking event, I'd go to a business event, I'd speak to everybody, I'd get a load of business cards and da da da. And then when I sat back and started to really engage with social, I just thought, Christ, this is like networking on steroids. It's phenomenal. And as long as you engage with it, it's so powerful. You know, the post I put up today, we've raised millions in angel finance. I bought a place in Dubai. I met the agent through Instagram. He invited us out to Dubai. We ended up buying through that agent. I've passed him a load of business since then through Instagram. We've bought property. We've sold millions of pounds of property through Instagram. It's just been like, it's been incredible. But, you know, I've ended up in random 50 million pound mansions in places. It's just crazy. And it's that 6 degrees of separation thing. But it's pointless if you don't engage. And I think that's the problem with most people on social media is they put a post out, one post out, it doesn't get a million comments and likes, and they think, oh shit, it doesn't work, this social media. We've been I've been consistent. I've posted every day for 4 years. And you know, that epitomizes success for me, is just consistently doing the shit that other people won't or don't want to, or will give up on very early. So yeah, a good time to ask that question 4 years in, because we've gone.
I didn't actually see the post, but yeah, that's amazing. And am I right in saying I think you just said that you've raised millions from social media alone? People contacting you on there, reaching out, seeing what you're doing.
Yeah, people I know, people I don't know. You know, and again, that's the thing with social media, is people mentally restrict it to, I only know these people. None of them have got money at the moment. But, you know, I always view social media as planting seeds for the future. So I'm working with a mate at the moment who's just done incredibly well in his business, sold it for millions. When I came onto social media 4 years ago, he wouldn't have even entered my mind as a potential person. But he contacted about 6 months ago, said, about to sell my business, I've done pretty well, been following you for a year, 2 years, I've seen what you're up to. Is there any way I can get involved? So, you know, every post is a seed, and it will take to the right person at the right time. But if you're not posting at the right time for that person to see it, they don't take the bite. So yeah, consistency has been good for us. Consistency and then engaging on the back of it. Not every post goes well. Some flop, some go really well. You know, I like to have a joke. I don't take it too seriously. You know, as you've mentioned, you enjoy the ones taking the piss out of other education companies. They probably don't like them so much, but you know, it's all fun and jest and fun and games. And you know, I'm very open to having the pee taken out of me. I enjoy it. I think everybody, certainly at the moment, you can be at risk of taking everything a bit too seriously, and social media is an opportunity to show everybody there's different sides to you. And certain people will resonate with different things. Some like that you have a joke, some don't like it, some like that you show great numbers, some don't like the numbers. You've just got to be a bit varied in your approach, I think.
I love that. And I think it's really powerful, that. And I think for people listening or watching, like, yeah, I feel anyway, you have to just embrace this social media thing that, you know, loads of people think, and me included for a certain period, I don't put myself out there too much. What are people going to think? What they're not going to think? I'm only going to get slated online, and all these things that go through your mind. But you just said it there, you can never please anybody. You could have the best posts in the property education world, and someone will always slate you, someone will always have a problem. And people will love it also. So I've just trying to, part of the reason doing the podcast and the video series and everything else I'm doing, I do that in my financial services business, but I'm going to just put myself out there on as many platforms as possible, pump out as much content, because you're right, it'll hopefully help and educate other people. I can have a laugh doing it.
Yeah, you'll have no issue with it. You'll have no issue. But the two things I will always say on social media is, your social media isn't the problem. It's people's views of what social media is that's sometimes the problem. It's just a medium. And as long as you are real, that's so important, and open, that's really important. You know, I get into debates on social media, but I'm willing to listen to the other side and consider their points, and I will present my side accordingly. Whereas, you know, other people might just delete a post that's having a pop at them. There's no point. If what you're posting is real and it's the truth, you can't argue with real and the truth. So, and that's always, you know, if someone comes on and says financial freedom in 7 days, that's very open to be argued about, because it's not impossible. Nothing's impossible, but it's very, 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 very unlikely. So if someone argues with it and you delete posts that saying that's not possible, or you've not done that with no money, you've used somebody's money, or whatever it may be, if it's real, you don't have those concerns. And that's always been my, you'll have no issue with that, but that's always been my approach. Everything I present is real. The numbers are real. The deals are real. It's our stock. It's our sale. It's our challenges. It's our losses. I can give you the real story behind all of it. If you start posting stuff just to look good and you exaggerate, then you're going to get caught out, and you deserve to get caught out. Simple as that. So, it's on you. You've got to own what you put up there. And you'll have no challenges at all. But others do, and they deserve their challenges as a result.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. Love that. I think that's a really powerful way to end. And just thank you again, Danny. Honestly, reach out to this guy, knows his stuff. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Danny.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, mate.